C1music.fm. Let's talk about it. It is your host for the evening, Aaron Robinson, Jennifer Evans, Madison Holloway. Yes. You ain't give her a round of applause today, Jen?
I didn't. I was considering doing it for you. And then since I didn't do it for you, I wasn't going to do it for her.
Oh, it's all good.
Understandable. Still the love.
All good. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it today. Actually, before we even get into our topic today, it was interesting to see my man, what's old boy that we had, we had watched the movie. Actually, me, my wife, and Maddie watched the movie,
Creed
3. Yeah. And my man Majors, man, he can drop from everything, bro. I'm like, yo, they just now talking about dropping him from all his MCU roles that he had. You know what I mean? For all the Marvel Comics universe, they dropping him now or talking about replacing him with other people. And he said all this for this young lady that he was dating. And it's like, man, bro, like, even if you didn't do it, it's like the repercussions of, and I hate to, because I'm not a racist person, but the repercussions of being famous and dating a white lady, it's not cool. You know what I mean? That your whole reputation and everything can be, like, you know what I mean, just shot and lose all your opportunities based on the situation.
Absolutely.
So it's sad, man. I'm praying for him. Hopefully, you know what I mean, he can overcome this and whatever. But it's like, yo, he losing bread off of this situation. It's not ending.
There is bad. Wow, I mixed the two first letters. There is bad publicity. Absolutely, word of mouth is crazy.
Yeah. So let's talk about it today. Our topic title is it okay to use profanity as a Christian in private? Is it okay to use profanity as a Christian in private? I want to first ask Madison first. You know what I mean?
Goodness. I felt it. I did.
Is it okay? The question is it okay to use profanity as a Christian in private?
I don't know if it's okay. General, private, probably not in general. But in private, you asked me because you know I do slang the words. So I'm not sure what the appropriate answer is. The proper answer.
All right, Jen, what about you?
So I think that with everything, right? Just be you. Be honest with everything. So for me, my beliefs and how I feel, no. I mean, even before, well, I don't know if there was a before, but even just in general, I think that to me, like mindless words, those are words that just fly out your mouth without thought. So the English vocabulary is so vast. So there's so many words that you can use that are more descriptive to convey your feelings of passion, anger, whatever it is. So I'm not of the mindset. I'm like of cursing. I just think it's like, whatever. Like it was a phase, maybe.
Yeah.
Like when I first joined the military, like, ooh, I'm bad. But now it's just like, what? No.
Yeah, I feel you. So then let me ask this question, and then we're going to get into the story. I'm going back to you, Madison. Is it okay to use profanity as a Christian pastor in private?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a different one. there will still be a mix of my first answer because I know in general it should probably be a no. And then especially in that tier of like influence and as a vessel, no. But if it's in person, if he stub his toe way he says it, I wouldn't be upset with him, you know. And then just what the root of cursing and even the English language, there's I'll always say duality, but there's the origin of words and such, of which we'll probably touch another time. But those are my thoughts.
All right, what about you, Jen?
No.
Short
I
answer
think that like I said, it's the same thing. No, I don't think there's duality. That word should not be used. It's like no. Yeah. I think what you do in private, like, like in private, when I'm at home, I may dress a certain way. Like if you're coming over, I'll probably change my clothes when I go to bed, or my husband may call me something different in private. But my general conversation, what you hear from me, and my general, you should be able to. My words should be the same. My vocabulary should be the same. If I stub my toe, what I feed into me is going to come out. So if I stub my toe, I'm like, bless God, or oh my gosh,
Bless God.
I'm just saying, God
bless
help
my
me,
toe.
or ouch. I'm just saying, like something. It shouldn't be F, or whatever, a S or whatever. It shouldn't be profanity. I don't think.
Understandable. And the duality wasn't in that context. It was along the one of when I said we'll probably touch on it on a later date because how the curses or profanity is used versus like the origin of the words. I mean, either way would make you not want to say them when we talk about it. But I hear you. I do.
No, if I'm saying, if I wasn't saved, I'd be going to hell. I think that's totally different than this is some bull.
No, yeah,
Just fill
absolutely.
it in.
Just fill it in with your own one.
Just fill it in with your own, yeah. So I think those,
mushrooms.
I think those are different. I think, yeah.
All right. So there's a story of a pastor receiving backlash for using profanity on his podcast. The question that we're asking today is that should he be given a pass? And if so, why? And if not, why not? Whether a pastor should be able to use profanity or curse depends on various factors, including cultural norms, religious beliefs, and the expectations of their congregation or religious community. So with that being said, here are some points to consider. And let me say this before I get into this. And the reason why I'm putting that definition in there. To be honest with you, cultural beliefs is also very important in this. I know that like in certain countries that drink beer, I've actually witnessed people who actually drink beer and curse and will sit down and have a Christian conversation and have the Bible out and we'll do some real Bible studying. And all of those things are permissive because it's a cultural thing that they do. So it's the norm in that area, or that, I guess, the law in that area, however you want to go about it. Whereas in other places, you even drinking a beer and studying the Bible is like what are you doing? You know what I mean? So, so culture, I think does play a major part. Also, certain words, culturally, are curse words in other countries. Whereas, like here, I give you for instance, and please don't. This is not a curse word for me, but I know in the UK, people say bloody, and that's a curse word to them.
Like for the D word, because I've heard them say bloody HE double hockey sticks.
Right.
Or they use that word bloody as a curse word. they're combining the word together with another curse word, I guess. But that is a curse word out there in their culture, whereas here it's not. Just like throwing your peace sign up in certain countries is like sticking the middle finger up.
Oh yeah, or the pinky finger.
Yeah. So cultures do play a part in that. But here are some pointers to consider. Religious beliefs. Different religious traditions have varying views on the use of profanity or cursing. Some religious leaders may believe that using such language is inconsistent with their faith teachings and values, while others may view it as acceptable in certain contexts. All right. Then you got congregational expectations. Pastors typically serve as leaders within their congregations, and their behavior may be expected to align with the values, and expectations of their particular community. Some congregations may find the use of profanity or cursing by their pastors to be inappropriate, while others may be more permissive. Another category to consider is professionalism and role modeling. As spiritual leaders, pastors are often held to a high standard of conduct and are expected to serve as role models for their congregants. The use of profanity or cursing by a pastor may be seen as unprofessional or inconsistent with their role as a spiritual guide. And then another one is context and intent. The appropriateness of profanity or cursing by a pastor may also depend on the context in which it is used and in the intent behind it. For example, using profanity or cursing in a sermon or during a counseling session may be viewed differently than using it casually in everyday conversation. Personal convictions, this is the last one. Ultimately, the decisions on whether a pastor should use profanity or curse may also be based on their personal convictions and understandings of their role as religious leaders. So it is important for pastors to carefully consider the potential impact of their words and actions on their congregation, and to be mindful of the expectations of their religious community. If in doubt, seeking guidance from their faith tradition, religious authorities, or trusted mentors can be helpful in navigating this complex issue. Today, we are going to speak about and react to two podcasts or two YouTube channels that are doing content on a gentleman named Tim Ross. Now, he is a lead pastor of the multi-ethnic, multi-generational Embassy City Church located in Irving, Texas. Tim speaks both nationally and internationally, strengthening believers with the good news of Jesus Christ. He began preaching at the age of 20 and has impacted the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. Tim cursed on this podcast and stated that most people who speak don't speak the same in private. He would never curse in the pulpit, but on his podcast, God allows him to. Is he right? And does that justify him actually cursing? So I want to give my opinion on this. I'm going to say no. I agree with Jennifer from the onslaught. But my reasoning is this, man. And I feel like everybody is guilty of this at some point in time. But I feel like at the end of the day, you can't let your good be evil spoken of. And so even if you got ill intent, like you don't know, you never know. Even your reaction, even your attitude, for that matter, can cause somebody to stumble. And we don't want to be the root of somebody stumbling. So I'll go back to even what I said and share with y'all, because I do agree with Tim Ross that what people do in public and what they do in private are often not the same. They're two different people. And I can even bear witness to that to a certain degree, only because I know around certain people I can't be. Because I know that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I even know, just me being a pastor's son and being in a pastor family, I've seen kids, when they get around my parents, they on their best behavior. You know what I'm saying? And then when they leave, or when we go out or do something, totally different. And I've shared this with you before, Jen. Like I've seen kids who, because my parents are so cool, they're, oh yeah, oh, I love your mom, da da da, da. And then they start getting all friendly with them, and then they share their Instagram page or
Right.
Facebook page, and then the truth start coming out. Like, yo, my mom or my dad would be asking, yo, did you see that? And I'm shaking my head like, but see, I know because I've been under the spotlight for a long time, so I know you gotta watch what you putting out there, what you do and say, and anything,
Right.
because you don't ever people don't really realize, especially when you get sharing your like. Wow. And the first thing that I say to myself, yo, why would you give my mom your Instagram page? Like, how stupid are you? Or your Facebook? Why would you want to be friends with my mom on Facebook? Like, and then you're gonna be showing that you're going out partying, doing this, that, and the third. Like, I'm like, yo, what? And when she come to me, I gotta be, I gotta play stupid when I knew this was gonna happen in the first place. And I say all that to say, you know what I mean? Just, yo, like, people move differently in certain situations. So, I mean, what do you think about that, Jen? For just even because you, well, actually, Madison, because I'm using my mom as and my parents as, because especially my dad. People look at my dad in like three different ways. Like he's a school teacher, so people see him from a school teacher standpoint. So they may not act up as much. They may show their true colors as a student. You know what I mean? Maybe he got into it with them, or he was a little bit strict. Because I've actually had some of his actual students also at one point in time attended our church. And then, you know what I mean? For me, I know him as dad as well. And to me, dad supersedes any of the other ones. But then he's also a pastor, and I know people deal with him as pastor. And so I'm asking you, Madison, just out of generosity, because, you know what I mean, you fairly new with meeting my parents. Do you feel like you change up when you get around them?
I feel like...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I feel like with strangers, especially someone's parents, because that's why I said strangers, because like that could be anybody's parents. But then someone you know's parents, no, you have to be very much respectful. And then also, if meeting him in those different lights, as you said, since he wears many hats.
Mm-hmm.
If I met him as a pastor first or a teacher first, like it would still, you have to be respectful. And then, like, working with you and being close with you, I want to be respectful to your parents. And so,
I got you. Do you think there's a difference from your standpoint? And I'm just using my parents as an example, Jim. But do you? I mean, even looking at them as an auntie, and maybe you've also, you know what I mean? Because I know you grew up in church and stuff too. Maybe you witnessed this with some of the kids in your neighborhood or some of your friends and things of that nature. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think I do think that. I mean, I'm definitely most of my stuff is private because I feel like if I know you, if I want you to know my business, when you see me, I'll tell you. I want to have that privilege of knowing the people who know my business,
right?
Pretty much. So yeah, pretty much. I think my Facebook, I believe all my social media is private. It ain't nobody following me anyway. Too much.
But it's funny because I remember, I want to say early last summer, my brother came up to me and he said, "Yo, I got this young girl. She wanna do a photo shoot with you." But I told her I didn't know because I don't know if you she want to take like all these sexy pictures and things of that nature. And I was just sitting there and I was listening to him and I was like, interesting. Interesting. And so the thing is, right, because I shoot mainly women as a photographer. And I've actually had this conversation with my dad before about it because, you know what I mean, I'm kind of like on a fence with certain things. But because I'm viewing it from a different lens But here's the thing, because me and Madison had a conversation about this, I want to say maybe a week or so ago, where I was sharing with her, yo, I don't like, even if I did take pictures of a woman in sexy lingerie or whatever you wanted to say, right? Even if I did, I would never display them or put them out there because of who I am. You know what I'm saying? And for me, the conversations that I have, I don't never do anything that my wife don't know about. So one, I make sure that me and my wife is good, and then B, because I know who I am and who I represent, I don't ever want to put myself out there to look bad for who I represent, whether it be my church, my family, my wife, or anything like of that sort. So, you know what I mean? And me and Madison had many of conversations about this as well. And so for me, you just got to be careful, man, because even though if your 10 is good, your perception is everything. And that's even what I'm going back to saying with my man Jonathan Majors. Like, even though he didn't do anything wrong or so-called, at the end of the day, man, his reputation is ruined. Probably getting caught slipping. Now, with that being said, in regards to Tim Ross, I hold him to a higher degree because he is a pastor. And so my ultimate answer for him, because even with me, because I remember, and I don't want to keep talking, but I remember when I was a little bit younger, my parents and a couple of other people used to come up to me like, yo, you should be a pastor like your dad. Nah, fam, I'm good. And they were like, why? And I'm like, yo, listen, again, I got an in-house eye-opener, personal of what pastors go through and what they got to deal with. People don't like to get disciplined. When they get disciplined, they either leave your church. People just, we've had random people from the church calling our houses at like 2-3 in the morning, harassing us before. Like, it's a lot, man, to go into it. And I feel like you just get held to a higher standard. I'll give you, for instance, Madison, if you was going to a rated R movie and you're a Christian and you was going to a rated R movie, to you, it ain't no big deal. You know what I mean? You're going to the movie, you're going to see a movie. But if you was going to that rated R movie and the pastor was also going to that rated R movie and you see pastor, you might think a little like, yo, all right. You hold them to a higher standard. And so I always said, yo, I still want to go to that movie. You're not holding me to that standard.
It depends on the rating.
There's
categories for the R.
Nah, man. And my thing is, yo, what you doing, darkness will come to light. So, you know what I mean? Like, at some point in time, people will find out. And even with this right here. So, I know, Jen, you said you actually listened to Tim Ross's podcast.
Yeah, he's on. I mean, I've seen him. He's popped up on my IG, and I think just because of other stuff I've listened to, and I mean, he's not. I agree with a lot of stuff he says. I think when he spoke spoken on relationships, concerning relationships. Like I said, I just remember him because of his glasses. Actually,
Okay,
he was like he was an interesting.
Well, I'm gonna say this to you. When I just for the same reason why you said you did check him out. Mm-hmm. It's for the same reason I never gave him an opportunity. He just looked mad sweet to me, man. Oh, he turned me off.
I think no. I
even sitting in his little chair, the way his mannerisms, how he was like he talks and stuff. I'm like, and I know he married, he got kids and everything. I heard him even rapping. I said, "Oh, my man got a little bit of skills," but nah. And I heard him. I heard him on other people's podcasts, and he was spitting some real stuff. Like, oh, he got a point there.
Yeah,
like he was dropping some jewels. Yeah,
yeah.
But I wouldn't subscribe to his podcast though.
To me, I like people that are outside of the norm. Like, if you have your own style, like I like people. I don't know, maybe not necessarily eclectic or just whacked out weird, but yeah, if you got your own thing going, I like that.
Nah,
That
respectful.
stands out to me.
Respectfully, he seemed like he a cool dude. Respectfully, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to throw no shit. I'm not calling him. Like I said, I know he got a family and everything. So from man to man, he got the utmost respect. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, his whole aura is just not my swag. Have you heard of him at all, Madison?
Nope, I have not.
Got you. Yeah. Nah, his whole aura is just not the nerdy look and all the other stuff that he goes on with. Yeah, that's not. He doesn't.
I
look,
did not know he was a pastor, though. I didn't know he was, and actually, apparently, a very, for lack of a better term, successful.
Nah, yeah, he's
very,
definitely his
got a lot
podcast
of-
said his podcast is going to the point. Well, he's saying that his podcast is not a Christian podcast. He doesn't want to promote it as a Christian podcast.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I'm going to say this. To me, I feel like everybody has their struggle. I think that, to be honest, there's another pastor that I've listened to. I don't agree with a lot of stuff he says, but I don't want to say his name, but I've listened to one of his sermon series, and I liked it. He also, but I think different people are for different people. Their message, their message is for different people. So this guy has a message for more secular, new Christians, people that are coming in, so I mean
that actually was his argument too. I mean, in one of his things, that is in one of these videos, that was actually one of his arguments.
I agree. I agree with that to a certain extent. Now, I don't think I agree with what he's saying. I don't think that you should have to, like, in order for me to say, hey, I empathize with you, I don't have to be like you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I empathize. Well, you don't have to lose your father in order to, or in order to sympathize and say, I feel your pain. I want to help you, but I don't have to become you. I don't have to become a stripper to say,
you sympathize. Yeah. Got you.
And I don't, so I don't have to be like you in order to, like, pull you in. I think it says, how can two walk together unless they agree? So to me, I tell my kids, your influence, especially if you're a Christian, your influence, you hang out with whoever you hang out, either you're going to influence them or they are going to influence you.
I co-sign that all day. You agree with that?
What comes to mind is it's friction, and so your both is gonna rub off one way or another. So
not both. I think one or the other. One is gonna get birds of a feather flock together. So either if you curse, then I'm either gonna start cursing. Even if I don't curse, I bet you the next time I stub my toe, after a while, I'm gonna think about it. Or I'm gonna say frick. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sooner or later, you're going to slip up and say the real one.
Yeah, I think, because either I'm going to influence you, and it doesn't necessarily have to be on cursing, but one of us is going to influence the other, either for whichever way. Yeah.
I agree.
That's how I feel.
So my man Tim Ross was on 2 podcasts. Well, actually, no. The first podcast he was on was my man Ruslan. And the other one is actually a reaction. So I want to react a little bit off of what Tim Ross is saying on Ruslan's podcast. So shout out to Ruslan, everybody. If y'all don't know who Ruslan is, he's a rapper in the Christian industry. And he usually have some dope interviews. I normally check him out. But he's pretty dope as a rapper, and he put out good music, and his podcast is pretty dope as well. So shout out to him. And I want to play a clip of him talking to Tim Ross, and then I want to analyze it with you ladies. And then I want to check out another person who is reacting to Tim Ross, who's saying that God told him to curse. Well, let me ask that question real quick. Do you believe he heard from God clearly?
Nope. God did not say a word to you just because he saw a funky fortune. That was not God. Chinese man type that.
Oh man.
Not everything.
Yo, when people start talking like that, then it's like, now I got to put you in the category of maybe a false prophet or something, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Why would you say that?
Why do you got to go all the way there with it? Yeah. Why does he have to just go all the way left?
God told me.
God looking down, shaking his head right now.
Yeah, so I don't want to put him there, but I'm just saying, like, because like you said, it's for different strokes, for different folks. But once you start talking like that, it's like,
even if it was a joke, you're exactly
no, I'm not talking about a joke. I'm saying he meant it.
Nah, well, I was saying if he even was like joking about it, like you said, his influence and how he's viewed as a pastor.
He's actually mentioning it. But I'm saying, like, now as a pastor too, like, yo, you're a pastor, bro. I couldn't go to your church. You talking crazy like that. That would be a turnoff. But as he said, my stuff ain't for you then. And absolutely, I agree. I'm out. All right, check it out. Ruslan, this is Ruslan's little interview. I'm starting at 49 seconds into the conversation. Are y'all ready?
Yep.
Yes.
Here we go.
About that, that I said, this is effed up, right? And I actually just said effed up, like the F letter, apostrophe D. Yes. This is effed up.
And this came out, or you edited it?
So I actually said like F apostrophe D.
Oh, you didn't say the word.
I didn't say the word.
Okay.
But I said it like 3 or 4 times, and I got angrier. And then I'm like, this is actually, and I actually said the word.
Gotcha.
And we muted that word.
I was gonna say, if they canceled you for saying effed.
No. but I actually said the word, but the word is never heard. Yes. We muted that word.
Got it.
Okay. And then later on, we called some stuff BS, but we actually said it. And we said, we're not going to edit that, right? So, obviously, there were some people that deeply offended by that. Ephesians 4:29 me to death.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah. And then Jenna wound up dropping an F-bomb after I did, because when we got back to women's sexuality and talking about, like, women are not men's vending machines, then we, so it was I've never been that emotional in a pod. And so what we started to talk about was, is this pod, is the basement, which is all about people giving us the gift of their vulnerability, is this supposed to be safe enough for everyone except me? And so we had to kind of like start philosophically kind of doing that out. And it was like, I don't cuss all the time. I love the English language a lot. So I'm not Gary V, you know what I mean? That's like getting muted. Every other word is going to be an F word. Yeah. But I'm like, if I feel a way, I want to know that I can do this. And so I went back home. I prayed. We talked about it a ton. Yeah. I called my mentor and was like, yo, Doe, if you think this is wrong, I'll take the whole thing down. I'll mute every word, whatever. Yeah. This is just where I am. I know a bunch of people that cuss. They just never cuss on a hot mic. you know. Yeah. And so I'm in the middle of it right now. Like we had, now this is after they started throwing rocks when I said damn in hell. So
those aren't even cuss words in California.
Bruh.
It's like, you ever heard of like being California sober? I'm totally joking, guys. California sober is people who get off like hard drugs and they still smoke weed.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I do not, nor do I promote, nor do I. Yeah, I'll tell you my position on profanity in a minute, which is going to be ironically similar.
So for me, I'm just like, well, yeah. And then you don't want to, I'm in, and I'm a Bible guy, bro. So I'm like, I don't want to my liberties to be a stumbling block for weaker believers, and all. Then I'm like, I don't know if weaker believers should be watching this podcast. Like, there's 5 million registered podcasts. I'm sure you can find one that's for you. Yes. And then I'm like, well, if I start reading through the Old Testament and get into that Hebrew, y'all would be shocked at what some of these prophets actually said and meant when they said it. Right. You'd be shocked at what Paul compared his whole resume to as it relates to following Jesus. But then I'm like, I don't want to be
You don't want to be the cussing Christian guy.
I don't want to be the cussing Christian guy.
Yeah.
I don't want to. This is an extreme case, but just let me get it out because it's the way I've mused it. I don't want to be Carlton Pearson, right? Like, I got a revelation of inclusionism. I'm going to walk around with a wagon full of theological material to prove my point. Because then I don't want to do that either. So then it's like, well, I'm not trying to start a crusade for or against it.
Yeah.
It's just that I'm an emotional creature and some stuff affects me deeply. And I could say it's terrible, but some stuff is past terrible in my book.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and then some of this is cultural because if I was in Ireland, we'd be drinking a pint of Guinness and cussing and talking about the word. Yeah. So it's like, maybe I have too many stamps in my passport. I've been too many places. And so, you know, I've been in green rooms where it's all water and Fresca. And I've been in green rooms where it's like, do you want a red wine or a white wine? Yeah. So I'm like,
All right, I'm going to stop it right there. Madison, give me your first take on it.
This man is torn. He said, he was like, he had me at, with the Christian podcast, all I heard in my mind is, okay, so he's a Christian with a podcast. This is not a Christian podcast, okay. But I hear him on it. I could see why he would be conflicted because he's like, I'm a human, even though I believe and do this, but you know, to stay at the standards and all of that goodness. Also, I'm speaking into the mic if you can hear that. But yeah, I hear the weight. I hear the weight on his shoulders, especially when you bring up the Hebrew part, because that interests me a lot. I have a few friends that speak and has been learning Hebrew, and we've kind of been breaking some things down too. That's all that came to mind.
So, do you agree with him? No, I just want to know on that part. Do you agree with him?
Agree that he should be able to say what he would like to say
on his podcast.
It is his podcast, but at his level, I'm not sure if it's best. I don't think it's best.
Okay. Jen, talk to me.
I agree. It's his podcast. I think I would have respected him more if he would have said, I struggle with profanity. I struggle with, you know, that. So sometimes if I get upset, you know, some stuff comes out. I think I would have been, but just to kind of double down on it and yeah, we haven't went to the second one, but I'm just like, what? Like, no.
You listened to the second one too?
Yes.
How deep did you? How many?
Like, if it wasn't bad for the first one, the second one, I'm like, oh, forget it, forget it. Just throw the whole thing in the trash. I'm not. Now, let me say, I'm not of the cancel culture because I think, like I said, man, humankind is. I mean, we're full of fault. We're human, so I get that. I just feel like the doubling down, like, and then saying that, you know, like, oh, well, God told me I could. Or even when he said, it kind of irks me when he said, well, I know people who do it, you know, they don't do it on a hot mic. Okay, but
that don't make it right or wrong, right?
Right, exactly.
What about it's you? And then the Hebrew part, if you were going to bring that up, you need to say, clearly don't do it again and say the whole thing. But like, say what you're speaking of if there's something like that.
But even so, that's like saying I got a wife and 3 chicks on the side. I mean, if you look back in the Old Testament,
okay,
they was doing what they was doing. You know, they had Solomon had, you know. So it's like, come on, just own it.
I don't rock with him on this one, man. I mean, let me say this: I feel his pain from on a human side. I feel his pain. Right. I get where you're coming from. But strictly from a Christian standpoint, bro, you full of it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, I'm not feeling you, bro. Like, I don't, like, yo, like, we're not supposed to be of this world.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And the fact of the matter, bro, you chose to be a pastor. So, you gonna be also held to a higher standard off the rip. You understand what I'm saying? So I mean, like to remove yourself from the blame, or to say, oh well, we could be drinking and it depends on like, yo, fans, yo. It's one thing if you with your boys, and he said he never heard somebody do it on a hot mic. Well, that's a personal reason too, bro. Like, fans, you on a hot mic cursing, and you're a pastor.
Pick up the hint you're dropping.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I would say this because Ruslan, if you listen to this whole thing, Ruslan said that to a certain degree he agrees with him, right? And he mimicked the same thing. But what Ruslan said when I heard him talk about this, because I was like interested, like, where Ruslan? Because Ruslan usually on point with his Bible stuff. But one thing Ruslan said was like, yo, like his mindset kind of changed once he had kids. It's like, yo, if I don't want my kid, I want to be a living example to my kids. If I can't be cursing and like this guy got kids too. Like, yo, you don't. So would you be mad at your kids cursing on a podcast?
Right.
Or because what you think they're gonna say? I got it from you, Dad. If it's all right for you to do it, Dad. So Ruslan was on there like, yo, I got to be an example to my child. Like, that's just not the lifestyle that I want to promote to my kid, and say that and give them the reason to say that it's okay. And I don't even have kids, but I felt him on that one too. Like, yeah, man. I remember one day, ironic story. I remember one day back in the day when we was younger. You know what I'm saying? We used to have like these rap sessions in my recording studio. I used to have all my friends. It'd be like 10 of us. And we get on, I'll make a beat, and they just chain rap and go 16, 50 verses. Like, you know what I'm saying? 50 bars. They used to go in. So one day, this was recently, but one day I was making some music up and I called, yo, I got a beat, bro. When you come out here from the holidays, because my man I was talking to live in Atlanta now, when you come out here, yo, I got some fire. My man said, yo, bro, I got kids now. And I said, okay. It's like, yo, I'm not trying to get on no track, man. I got kids now, bro. And then I just said, okay.
Rap about your kids.
Nah, but then I thought about it and I just like, yeah, I'm tapping out. And I stopped making beats from that point going forward. Because I'm like, yeah, the jokers I used to have fun and do this all with, everybody, you know what I mean, older now. It's like, yo, you kind of like grow out of it, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
True. Well, not if, producing could be a line. But
Yeah, but you understand what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I grew up, I love music. We used to do music all the time. Like that's what it was. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I felt where he came from. I mean, to a certain degree, I felt I would have been the same way if I had kids. You know what I mean? But yeah. So, how bad is it, Jen? The second video, how bad you want to say it is? Explain it to. Madison.
I said, just the fact that, I mean, on the second video, you hear him, it falls out of his mouth. He spews forth. God told him to curse.
Spews forth.
That was like, that's it. That was a mic drop. Or pick up the mic and just shut down the whole system. Stop the recording.
All right, so even before even if we might not even have to get into that video, let me ask. How do you feel about him saying God told him to do it?
I mean, I think it's the equivalent of. I mean, it's just a lie. We going into another episode. We're going into the familiar. Crossed over. It's a lie. I believe, Father God. If I get to heaven, I pray, and I find out otherwise, I'm gonna be like, wow, I'm surprised. I didn't think,
Well, God,
do you think? I'm just saying, yeah, it would have to be from his mouth.
But do you
for me to
think God
believe
would
it.
tell you to do something that low?
No, I don't think. No,
Yeah, I don't.
think, and
What
I
about you?
think that's blasphemy. Just saying, like that's like no, that's like yeah, I wouldn't say that. That's
What
yeah.
about you, Madison?
I would say that part. She said blasphemy.
Oh.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because if he doesn't break down in the video how he receives his word, download, whatever, for him to hear God, because for one, we already know that you did not hear a thing, sir. But of however he connects with God, what is that process? What is that? You might need to audit it, clean your ears or something, because I don't think it would go down.
Right.
Like that.
I would go to the more further and say we gonna have to start questioning if you ever heard from God ever at any point in time.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you go and say that God told you, God would never tell you the curse to reach people.
Mm-hmm. And then especially, I guess this would be the section to add the context to the duality I was saying I would just add another time. The English language, for one, there's many just curses in the base language. Just how we were saying, like geographically, culturally, words mean other things. The origin of certain just seemingly not curse words are, curse words or spiritually curse words. Like even if we were to say someone hears the B word as one thing, like, oh, I'm just being expressive. Or most people will say, oh, that means female dog. No, literally neither, because like in a spiritual, like a dark spiritual community, that is you like literally cursing someone, hexing them, like to be like bewitch, like to combine the words. Like we don't. You can't be playing with things of that nature, and then like worse, like in that on that not I almost said on that throne, but on that level, on that level of influence and being a vessel, you can't do that.
Let me ask this question, just to throw a curveball into it. All right, and I'm asking you, Jen. All right, he said he cursed. His wife cursed, obviously. So I'm going to assume that being that they frequently curse. I've seen his kids down in his podcast basement before, so I'm assuming that his kids curse too. But knowing that he curses in his privately, if he lived around where you live at, and you know he's the pastor and goes to this church and has a church, and you lived in the same area and your kids wanted to go hang out at his house, would you let them?
No, but in the second podcast, I think, or somewhere in one of those two podcasts, oh no, in the first one, he says his kids curse because he's heard them curse. And I think that he literally, like, it was like they were listening to like some rappers, and he printed out the song and was like, who is this? Like, you're saying B, you're saying MFR. Who are these people? Like, when you say that, are you referring to your mother? Are you referring to your grandmother? Like, who are you? Like, when you say that word, when you're, singing these rap songs, who are you referring to? And what are you like? So you really want to gun down? So he laid that out to his children like that to say, hey, they've heard, I cursed. I said those words to them to say, this is the wrong context. So he was saying, he made a point to say, context is everything. That's what his point was. He was like, when he said the F word, when he threw out those, it was in context of his anger out at a bad situation, at an injustice. But I'm like
I disagree with that. Let me tell you, if I'm writing a rap, let's say me and you was dating and you broke my heart and I write a rap about it, and in context I really mean what I just said. You this and this, and the kids just well, Dad, if Mom made you feel the same way and you know what I mean, then I guess I am referring to her.
Yeah, it's all about the context. You can't be like F that B, and I was like, no.
But I'm saying when you say it's all in context, to me you don't say it at all. It don't matter if the context.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what he said. That's exactly what he said. I listened to the whole thing. So Yeah, it was on the first one. I remember him saying that, yeah, his kids, he's cursed at his kids. Well, because he's heard his kids curse, and it was from them listening to X, is it X, never mind.
Extension.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I know.
So
Yeah.
so so on a nutshell though, you saying that you won't let your kids hang out with his kids?
No.
They're Christians though.
All right.
She said watered down.
Well, I'm cautious about letting my kids go to other people's homes because what my norm is and what someone else's norm is maybe two totally different things. So in order for me, people can come over. My kids can, the younger kid, they can come over my house because I can kind of control the situation, protect their gates, ear gates, eye gates. So, but if I send them over to someone else's house, I have no say. Even with smoking, I mean, just health wise, I don't want them. Somebody may smoke, somebody may be cursing.
Mm-hmm.
So just for me, my kids, you'll hear them say, especially my older, you never let us do anything. We never could go over anybody's house. I'm like, yeah, but you're safe. I mean, you and my son says we never listen. All we listen to, the only secular music you let us listen to is Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey, like only, like certain songs. But I was like, but all the secular songs now. So like, what? Like, you're not hurting because you know them now. You know the other secular songs. I mean,
yeah, I feel you.
That's silly.
Yeah, I had to say that to my sister also when you said different people's norms, like, and then especially on households, because she's becoming a woman. She's a woman now, like older teen, but she's an adult now, and so we're driving and we're really talking about life and people, and we're on the topic of norms. We're passing houses, and I said specifically that in particular, every house, we don't know what is going on in it. We don't know whose norm is what, because there is no normality. If you really look at it, the normal people are some mainly classified as psychopaths. So, because we're like, what is the line of actual normal? Because everybody has their things. Every house, I was like, you got to look at it as different little universes. What we are understanding of what is not okay for some people, they don't either comprehend it, they don't believe in it, or that's just the life that they live and what they find as normal.
All right. So with that being said, Madison, would you let your kids go over this pastor's house and play?
I don't know this pastor, so
if he was in your neighborhood.
That doesn't matter. So it's a slight combination of gens and just my own thought process.
Say you knew him. You know he a pastor. You know him in the neighborhood.
If I was close enough with him and comfortable to do so, even still, because of the how, everybody has their thing. Even pastor, what? There's pastors that have done unpastor outside of cursing. The way I have to know this man, and it's a man.
So you saying no?
I'm a strict person.
So you saying no?
I don't know this man, no.
Gotcha.
I don't care if he's a pastor, a well-known pastor.
Yeah, I would say no too. I would say no, and because of that reason, I wouldn't want. If you cool with your kids cursing, even if you want to say, "Yo, well, it's only cool if it's in context." Nah,
because I'm going to
because I'm going to say if we go back to that podcast we did on the Familiar, where we said the two kids had a fight, and then the mom hopped out and said she wanted to fight you coming out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to say, yo, Shorty got punched in the face. It's in context. My son beat you up. My son beat your son up. Well, we gotta look at it in context. See who's right, who was wrong. No, man, that's not. No, you don't teach kids to fight like that, man. No, I'm not in agreement with that. Exactly. But, and I'm not saying but to that. I'm saying but in the conversational piece. But if you live your way like that, if you live like that and everything's in context, when you get put over by the police, it's in context. Depends on how it's all perspective then. How you want to look at it. Who's right and who's wrong.
They just might want to see how I'm doing tonight.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't agree with that from that standpoint. I do believe intent plays a major part in certain things you do. I do come across from the intent standpoint. But I don't believe that God will use you in the intent to witness to somebody by cursing. That you didn't hear from God, bro. That's not clear. You picked up the wrong line. You what was the word that you was in the wrong firmament?
He wasn't in God's firmament.
Nah. Yeah, you picked up the wrong phone line. So then I want to ask you this. This is my last question, and then we're gonna tap out. Jen, so would you put him? Would you? Well, A, would you still listen to his podcast? And B, would you put him as a false prophet?
Yeah, he's putting out he's putting out some falsehoods. So I've scrolled. I mean, he's just on my IG line.
Remove.
I don't follow him. So
Next caller. Next caller. Jesus, take the wheel.
Say, like I said, to me, he's not on my IG. He's not. I haven't followed him, so I would probably just scroll past him. Yeah, I wouldn't. It's not like
I have spoken.
It's not like he's like I said, I don't follow him. It's not like I'm like, ooh, like he was interesting and he has said some profound things, but yeah, the whack. That whack phrase just.
If you already put him in the category as false prophet, that automatically eliminates him from being heard. Yeah. In my opinion. What about you though? Would you ever listen to his podcast, Madison?
No, I don't see from this whole conversation whether we was speaking on the profanity part. There wasn't nothing for me to grasp to want to listen, and now super not at this rate.
All right. Well, as a Christian, what I am going to say this as we end the podcast. I ask for everybody who listens to the sound of my voice on this podcast to please pray for Tim Ross. Mm-hmm. Pray for deliverance. Pray that he hear God's clearly the next time he calls into God.
The real one, not the uppercase G, not the lower ones.
Make sure he has the right number.
You said Satan done tap the phone. Say this, say it. You know I kind of sound like him.
But nah, seriously, pray for him, man, because, you know what I mean? Pray for him and pray for the people that's under his leadership.
For real. Yes.
All right, with that being said, you want to give Jen, you got anybody you want to shout out?
No. Hi, everybody. Bye, everybody.
What about you, Maddie?
I'm in the same boat. I keep forgetting that we do this by the end. It's me, G-O-D, us three, Schmatty out.
Yeah, I want to give everybody a shout out as well for listening and tuning in, following and supporting. We got some material coming out soon that we're going to be putting out. We're trying to get back to broadcasting on a regular basis live. Now we want to introduce live, so hopefully y'all will show us some love on that. And with that being said, we are signing out. Holla at your boy. Yo, let's get it. Holla.